Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn now wants to talk to the FBI and to Congress.
The Wall Street Journal reports Flynn says he is willing to testify if given immunity as lawmakers hold hearings on Russian efforts to sway the U.S. presidential election. Take Online political reporter Dave Bryan joins us now with Flynn's offer and what it means, Dave.
Yeah. And the question everyone asks in a case like this is, well, why does he need immunity, right? And we don't know. His attorney says anyone testifying on such a highly charged issue at such a polarized time would ask for protection from prosecution. But for the former national security advisor who was pushed out of office for misleading the White House about his Russian connections, the stakes could be even higher.
The report by the Wall Street Journal could have a major impact on the FBI investigations and the House and Senate investigations of possible collusion by Trump campaign associates with the Russians to influence the outcome of the 2016 presidential election. The paper says former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, through his attorney, has offered to testify about what he knows, but only if he's granted immunity from prosecution. Flynn's attorney wouldn't confirm the immunity demand, but tweeted a statement that strongly indicates he did request protection. He said General Flynn certainly has a story to tell and he very much wants to tell it. But he added, no reasonable person would submit to questioning in such a highly politicized witch hunt environment without assurance against unfair prosecution.
I think that Mike Flynn is dying to get his story out, almost to take the attention off himself. To say, let me tell you what I know, but I can't do that because people might come after me.
Ironically, last September, Flynn himself made this statement about immunity, referring to associates of Hillary Clinton.
When you are given immunity, that means that you've probably committed a crime.
Former federal prosecutor Laurie Levinson, now a professor at Loyola Law School, says granting immunity can be a difficult decision.
Because you don't just give out immunity to the first guy who comes forward. You have to figure out how high up he might be. Is there somebody who has information that is not perhaps as culpable? And you give immunity to them and work their way up.
The Wall Street Journal wasn't the only newspaper breaking news related to the Russia investigation. The New York Times identified 2 White House staffers who funneled evidence to House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, showing that Trump aides were surveilled by foreign officials. Last week, Nunes viewed classified documents in a secure facility on the White House grounds, and Press Secretary Sean Spicer was skeptical when asked if White House staffers may have been the source.
It doesn't really seem to make a ton of sense. So I'm not aware of it, but it doesn't really pass the smell test.
Burbank Congressman Adam Schiff, the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, says the report raises more questions about why the White House and Chairman Nunes hid the material in such backroom secrecy from the committee members.
And they can present it to the White House staff or the president himself at any time. So why all the cloak and dagger stuff?
Meanwhile, the Senate Intelligence Committee actually held a public hearing on the Russian interference case.
This Russian propaganda on steroids was designed to poison the national conversation in America.
And some of what they heard was pretty scary. The vast Russian information warfare campaign involves at least 15,000 operatives worldwide writing and spreading false news stories and conspiracy theories online. A campaign that often starts with Russia-backed media and has often targeted President Trump since he took office.
I can tell you right now today, accounts tweet at President Trump during high volumes when they know he's online, and they push conspiracy theories.
And of course, the Russians also use sophisticated hacking, like what they did to the Democratic National Committee, where they stole much more than what has been released on websites like WikiLeaks.
What we've seen publicly released is probably under 1% of what we'd attribute to the Russian government stealing.
Now, the New York Times reports that it's not unusual for witnesses to demand immunity if they agree to testify. And while Congress can grant immunity in exchange for testimony, there are a number of steps in the process before we get to that point.
Dave, what impact do you think Flynn's demand for immunity will have on the investigation and on the hearings, for that matter?
It could have a dramatic impact, but it's still too early, I think, to feel that way. If nothing else, today's developments probably pour more gas on the flames for an issue that's already fired up plenty of controversy. Beyond that, it is too early, I think, to know more specifically about what the impact of the Flynn immunity demand might be, for example. And there are still a lot of steps in the process, as I mentioned before we get some answers. It's unlikely immunity would be granted unless Flynn reveals, for example, to some extent what he knows and would be willing to talk about. Back to you guys.